good evening, or in this case, for me, afternoon. But you'll be hearing this in the evening. I think so. Depends. Analytics say you guys listen to it whenever, so let's just say, how do you do? How about that one? I'm Ralph A. Martinez, and this will end in darkness. How's it hanging? No, not an audio episode this week, but at home episode this week. No studio for us. We're at the house chilling on vacation for the Jewish holiday. What up? Which I'm not Jewish, but my job does tell me I must take this day off. So, but they pay for it, so that's lovely of them. What's going on? Well, a lot of things are going on, I think. A lot of things that maybe we're not paying attention to because some of us have real lives. Some of us are real people, and we don't get caught up in the news of celebrity. But there is a particular story that I'm interested in. Marquise Jackson, 50 Cent's child, feels that because his dad is a millionaire, he should give him more than $7,000 a month. Now, mind you, Marquise Jackson's 26 years old, and he's getting $7,000 a month. And he claims that with $81,000 a year, you can't just live wherever you want, and you just can't do whatever you want, which, not wrong. There is a cap to where you can live, to what you can do with that kind of money. It's unfortunate in a way, I guess, because if you look at his dad being a multi-millionaire, you would think, well, why couldn't he give more? But I'm kind of on 50 Cent's side here because this kid seems like a prick. And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I have a belief. Let me take these headphones off because these have been not working as well as I want. I've already done a sound check, so we'll be fine. To me, if you're getting $7,000 a month, that's a hell of a lot better than getting nothing. At least with $7,000 a month, you can find a good one-bedroom apartment in New York, at least, for $1,800, and then you have about $5,000 and something to do with as you please for food and whatever. You can take that money and flip it, do something with it, start a career, invest in things. But it seems like Marquise doesn't want to do that because that'd be too hard. And like a majority of people of his generation, he wants it handed to him. And the thing about rich kids, or at least the kids who are the kids of rich parents, they have not figured out the all-encompassing truth. You are a product, not a child anymore. For rich people, they now look at their children like real kids. They're more products. They're parts of legacies. They're the next generation, and they hope to continue on their wealth. But it seems like 50 Cent's already given up on this kid, which, to be honest, this kid's kind of a prick, so I kind of get it. You do have to sometimes give up on your child, I think. Some children aren't worth redeeming. Some children aren't worth saving. Horrible, I know. But you have to be willing to walk away and go, hey, here's your monthly check. Goodbye. And that's what 50 Cent did. Kind of classy to still give him $7,000 a month, even though he's 26 years old. And arguably could probably figure out how to do his own fucking shit. But then Marquise, said, I will give my dad $6,000 if he just gives me this quality time he didn't give me as a child. And number one, 50 Cent should never do anything for $6,000. He is a star. For him to do it for anything less than, I would say, 30 grand is quite insulting. So Marquise should save his money and give his dad a better pay rate. You might hear some construction in the background. Just rock with it. But 50 Cent's a major star. Showing up for $6,000 kind of horse shit. I wouldn't show up for $6,000, and I don't have the wherewithal to turn down $6,000. But I wouldn't show up for $6,000 for this kid. But 50 shouldn't. And the truth is, listen, I say this to somebody whose dad wasn't there for a good chunk of my life. Get over it. It's time. 26 years old, getting 7,000 a month. It's time to get over it. The truth is, most of his generation have a hard time getting over it. If you look at all like the Disney movies now and all the media we make, it's always about parents, apologizing, but it's never about kids understanding they might have been pieces of shit as well, or the situations in which their parents come from were really fucking rough. You see, the thing I think people don't understand about children or raising children is you're not necessarily raising them to be great. What you're really doing is you're trying to limit the amount of trauma they endure so they can be great. But some shit can't be helped. Some people have short tempers. Some people weren't ready to have children. Some people didn't have the economic means in which to give kids everything they wanted. Or there was a trade-off. You got the financials, but you didn't get the love. You got the love, but you didn't get the financials. Sometimes there are trade-offs in life, and there is no perfect family. There's no perfect childhood. Hate to break it to you. It doesn't happen that way. But too many of my generation and the generation after me seem to feel that they're owed some kind of apology, and you're not. We talked about it a little bit last week. There's only but so much a prior generation can do for a future generation, given the circumstances and the situations they have. My mom had me at 15. It wasn't easy for her. I remember when we went to therapy, our therapist said, one day you will apologize to Ralph and he will laugh at you because he already understands. And believe me, I understood. Even when I was like 7 or 8, I understood she's a kid and she's got a kid. And when you realize that, you start forgiving shit. When you look at your parents as people and not the institutions you wanted them to be, you start forgiving a lot of shit because you realize they're fucking people who also were probably manufactured by bad people. Not my mom. My grandma was pretty cool. My grandma had her moments, but my grandma's pretty dope. I had breakfast with her today. We went to IHOP. It was awesome. We talked about food all day. She's giving me some recipes because my grandma's awesome. But the truth is, you have to at some point accept that your parents are who they were and who they are and will continue to be. There's some things that aren't going to change, and to bitch about them does nothing for you. And in the case of Marquise, when you're getting 7,000 a fucking month, it's really time to shut the fuck up, because in essence, he's giving you money that, if anything, he never got. You see, his dad made a classic album called Get Rich or Die Trying. What does Marquise do? Jack shit. Can he hum a tune? Can he write some lyrics? Can he do anything? No. And I kind of feel bad for 50, because when talented people have talentless children, it's like, what happened to my sperm? Like, what did I fuck up? How could God have done this to me? But I feel like it's a little trick God does. It's like, hey, I will give you just enough to crawl out of squalor and you can be king. But your kid, he's not going to be able to do it. And you're going to have to take care of him because you might have made it too easy. And the thing is, talentless children, listen, I'm not saying they don't have a place in our world. He could have been a banker. He could have been like a guy who works at H&R Block. Marquise could have found another thing to do other than be 50 Cent's son. But he opted not to, which I think is a very, very ballsy move. Kudos to him for that, but it hasn't worked out. Now, has it? Because he's still not getting what he deems enough money. Do you know what you can do with $7,000? You can do quite a bit, $7,000 a month. You can start selling things on Etsy. You can start a pyramid scheme where you sell products that help people lose their hair. You can start a cult if you wanted to. Go low level, buy a small church, get really good at your, preaching. Bam, now you're getting a little bit of a congregation. You know what I mean? That's what you do. And then hopefully someday, maybe you'll get into hip hop and you'll make some music. And now you're making music and everyone thinks you're a creative genius. And then, you kind of snap and you start saying wild anti-Semitic shit. And people just go, man, but he makes really good music and his sneakers are really fucking cool. And then you go on Tucker Carlson and Tucker Carlson's like really into you and saying, we're going to talk about the unvarnished version of this guy, but then still cuts out the anti-Semitic shit. And then people just make excuses for you because, hey, no matter how bad his bipolar is, he makes really good music. And we cannot forget that, even though more than likely Kim Kardashian probably suffered shit we'll never fucking know because the music and the sneakers are so fucking cool. That's who Marquise Jackson could be with his $7,000 a month, but he chooses not to be. At least that's an experience. Hate to bring that word back from 2 episodes ago, but at least that would be doing something. But the truth is, maybe it's not the truth. Maybe it's my opinion on it. But I often feel that when I look at prior generations and what they went through and how they were able to overcome circumstances, you have to be willing to risk it for the biscuit. Sacrifice. Really looking in the mirror and going, what am I providing to a situation? Am I making my situation any better? Who's responsible for the situations I am in? Is it me? Did I not push forward when I should have? Did I talk myself out of things? Did I keep myself stagnant? Am I a victim of my own choices? Marquise isn't asking those questions. And most people don't ask those questions anymore because we still want someone to blame. But the problem is, and to revisit something we've been saying since episode 1, it's a work, brother. None of it's real. The institutions aren't real. Relationships on title aren't real. I often talk about being an optimistic nihilist, and when you've accepted optimistic nihilism, what you realize is it's not the universe that's meaningless. You are giving meaning to the universe. You are giving meaning to your experience. So whether you had good parents, bad friends, good times, bad times, you are still giving meaning to your experience. Racer X said it in the Speed Racer movie. It's not about whether the world changes. It's about whether you let the world change you. Deep fucking concept for that fucking movie, but they were doing a whole lot of shit in that fucking movie. But the truth is, at least I hate that I keep saying the truth is, because it's really just my opinion of how I view things. At least my truth would dictate us. That you have to take ownership of the shit you go through. It cannot be just everyone else. Your trauma cannot be the only thing that defines you. Eventually, healing has to happen. You can't just be always traumatized but never healing. One of those things are not like the other. They have to go together so you can be a person. I went through hella trauma as a kid. Insane trauma. Reality altering trauma. Let's put it fucking that way. Like, imagine you look at life one way and someone arrives and beats down your perception of reality and twists it. And now your reality is whatever you believe their reality was. I had a girlfriend that did that for 6 years in my 20s. Literally, I felt like I was crazy, but she was the fucking crazy one. And it took forever for people to really find out because no one's really trying to hear from me. I'm a guy. So whenever any relationship problem happens, it's always assumed it's the guy, which it's funny how patriarchy works that way. We all want to fight the patriarchy until shit women want to keep. But we'll get to that later. Because they want to reserve the right to always blame men for everything when sometimes it's not really a man's fault. But when your reality is altered, you start to realize none of this stuff's real. None of it has a concrete place. I used to be really religious. I used to believe in God really strongly, right? I had someone ruin that for me, or I had a series of situations ruin that for me, and it was taken from me. And I remember feeling so depleted and destroyed by it. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs religion, but I was clearly someone who benefited from having a belief in God. What ended up happening was I lost that foundation that was in my life that made me who I was, that kept me on the straight and narrow. And when I was at my darkest, I had to claw back and redefine what that faith was for me, an individual experience of how I will go about it and how it will not be dictated by someone else. Because if I let someone take my faith from me, did I really have it? And that's when you realize when you've been down to the darkness. That's why the show's called This One in Darkness. Because I am someone who's been in the darkness. I know where this ends inevitably. But when you live 3 or 4 lives in one lifetime, you start to realize it's really not necessarily about just situations that happen to you. It's choices you make. There are situations you allow to continue that you shouldn't have allowed to continue, but you didn't know any better. You thought things were secure. You thought this was the way things were, and you kept trying to talk yourself into believing that this is how things were. But when you start to realize that your reality was altered, you start to realize none of this is legitimate. It's all what pro wrestling does. It's kayfabe. It's half real. It exists in a hyper realistic sense. Your government's not necessarily real. Like when you consider how often multi-million-dollar corporations and multi-millionaires fuck you on a regular using the government, and the government's supposed to be protecting you. Donald Trump didn't really protect anybody. Nancy Pelosi's not protecting anybody, which is insider trading. Like, both sides of the fucking coin ain't protecting you, even though I think Joe Biden kind of feels like he is. And to be honest, he's handling this Russia thing better than fucking most. And that's one thing I've heard conservatives and liberals say, which is kind of interesting to see them both agree, hey, he's actually doing the right thing and just chilling the fuck out. Yeah, he recently said the end was nigh, but at the same time, that was more of a communication issue going, hey, you, no nukes for you. We're not doing that this time. I don't even think we ever did it with him. We only did it once with the Japanese, and they seem to have forgiven us. They got past that trauma, I think. But in the end, your economy's not real. The dollar's not fucking real. No one knows what standard it's really on. Someone made a really good point one time. I think it was Glenn Greenwald. That's not even the gold standard it runs on. It runs on a military standard that we know we can enforce the dollar everywhere. So who's going to fucking fuck with the dollar? Nobody. Cryptocurrency isn't real. That's why it's doing very well. In a world where everyone's living in a fantasy, cryptocurrency does extremely well. So when you have, at least the trauma I have, where you were pretty much brainwashed, you start to realize how easy it is for all of these institutions to not be real anymore, and how they only mean something if you allow them to mean something. So when I look at, parents, when I look at families, on paper, yes, they're supposed to be this, that, and the other. But in reality, they aren't. In some households, they're not families, they're hostages. And no one understands that concept because everyone thinks their family is supposed to be the Disney family, but it's not true at all. Your family are the people that care and love about you, or care about you and love you, and the ones who are always going to be there to have your back and are going to uplift you. And sadly, some of those people won't be your parents. Sadly, some of those people won't be the relatives you want to do that for you. And I think that's what Marquise Jackson has to realize. 50 was 50. He came from the gutter with nothing. In his mind, if he can do it, you should be able to too. And it should be a bit easier because you have the financial backing. $7,000 a month is not nothing. There are people who start Etsy stores with little to nothing. People are starting clothing lines now because Photoshop's like regularly available and everyone's learning it. There are YouTube tutorials. The world's not that fucked anymore. Like when you consider it, like the level of skill that's available to you, what you can learn, who you could be. In the end, it's all about who you can be. If you continue to live yourself dictated by the people of the past, what good is it? You don't have a future. You don't have a present. You're in the past. That's not that deep of a concept either. That's just reality of it. So when I see people dictated by their past, I pity them because you've allowed it to win. Now, in some cases, some trauma's too strong and it takes a while to break. But if you're not willing to break it, if you just continue to use it as an excuse, what are you going to do? I know people legitimately who were molested by family members. And one of the things they told, I've never forgotten this shit. She told me, she's like, if I don't continue to live my life every day by my own standards, by my own way of looking at things, and survive, then I died that day it happened. And in that is like, consider that. She has to fight to live every day so she feel like she didn't die. That's fucking deep, man. But how many of us have that on a lower level scale? Because the truth is, if you're not happy, you're dying. That's just the truth of it. If you're not taking strides to make your life better, to find ways to make your situation better with your family, with your friends, achieve some level of your dreams, achieve some level of your hobby, you're dying. You're just waiting to die, really, because that's all life really is, passing the time until we die. You're just going to die a hell of a lot quicker if you don't do nothing. Because spiritually you're dead, mentally you're dead, and now you're just waiting for the physical death to happen. You know, incels have already died. That's why, to me, I think they're worth investing in. I think they're worth saving. They're like Lazarus in the tomb. You have to revive those individuals because they cannot be left to their own devices. If they are, they will die. And I'm telling you, not only will they die mentally and spiritually, they will find the ambition to make other people pay for their death. So if you leave them alone by themselves, they only grow in number. And then people wonder why the far right is now taking over several different countries. Because you left a lot of these people unchecked and you forgot all about them. There's a way of having a society that you do balance it out and think about everyone. Centrism may not be sexy because people argue centrism guys here, but we're starting to see where the far left and the far right have gotten us so far, and all it's got is a polarized nation, and that's not good for anybody. And if we continue on this fucking route, who knows what's gonna happen? Last time this happened was a civil war, so maybe we do know what's gonna happen. But the problem we have is we have given up on our weakest, and we have given up in a way where we don't tell people the truth. Life is a bitch, and then you die. That's it. And nothing in this really means all that much unless you apply a meaning to it. And listen, they can announce tomorrow that an asteroid is on its way here, and we can't stop it. And it's going to wipe everything out, what we have to show for it. You'll spend the last few days trying to live it up, but it shouldn't have required that. You should have found a way to make yourself happy. And I'm doing that every chance I get, man. Whether it's video editing, whether it's this podcast, whether it's, reading things I'm interested in, watching things I'm listening to, learning new things about music. Like, I found out about Magic Girl anime recently from a project I'm working on with somebody. Didn't even know that existed, but there's a whole subgenre of anime. And now I'm like deep into researching it for this project. That's how I'm living. I'm pushing myself to be who I would rather be. As opposed to being somebody with a 9 to 5 I'm not happy with. I'd rather be a creative. That's not to say having a 9 to 5 is a bad thing, but here's the thing. There are good men and women out there who work a 9 to 5, take care of their family, are great parents, and they're living a great existence. So I think that's also part of the Gary Vee problem. Not everyone's an entrepreneur. Some people are just really good people. They're not causing any trouble to anybody. They're just living a good life. And if you are one of those people who is working a 9 to 5 and you feel like everyone's judging you for not being an entrepreneur and shit, but you're happy with the life you have, the family you have, the kids you have, enjoy it because you've reached a level of happy most people will never fucking know. You reach a level of acceptance. You reach a level of true fucking harmony that you get to take care of your family, and that brings you peace and joy. That's beautiful. But we look down upon that now because look at all the fucking movies from the 90s and early 2000s. It's always, oh, this father looks mad depressed. Why he didn't achieve his dreams. Yeah, fair point, but not all fathers were like that. Some willingly gave that up for the families they got, and the families never fucking appreciated it. It's very interesting to see how it's all turned on men now to a degree, even though I 100% agree. There is some dangers. Badly manufactured men can provide to a household, can provide to a society, but it can't be all men. It can't be. It just can't be. You can't generalize it that way. You can't. Because there were good men who were trying every day. There are good men who are dealing with trauma you have no fucking idea about. I'm just open about mine. You know, that's probably what makes me a little different. I'm open about my trauma. I don't run from my fucking trauma. Though it's kind of impossible to run from it because it's literally my perception on reality. You know, how I like, it's why like people always, you know, the comments we do get about this show is, man, you're like, you really seem to nail what's going on right now. And I don't think I'm nailing what's going on right now. I'm just honest about what's going on right now. I lived through this already. You guys are catching up to concepts that I've already been through. You know, nothing's what it says it is. Yeah, there's a lot of people who do that. The people who love you the most will sometimes do it. The people who are closest to you that you think love you the most will fucking lie to you. That's what it is. That's the world we live in. But at some point, you gotta take some responsibility. What are you gonna do about it? You gonna get up and do something about it? You gonna sit around bitching? Because that's how I feel my generation did. We perfected bitching. We didn't do anything else. We had the internet. We had so many other things. All we did was perfect bitching on it. Few of us create apps and stuff. That's nice. But the rest of us just fucking self-loathe the entire fucking time. The boomers didn't leave us anything. Who the fuck cares? They ain't have to. No generation's obligated to. You do shit because you want to do them. That's the thing that people don't get either. There is no nature in which human beings feel the need to pass on to the next generation. There isn't, because animals don't even fucking do it, really. Do evolution they can, but that's not because they want to. It's genetically and scientifically happening without them even knowing it, because they're not even conscious of it. The lions do not care about the gazelles. The lions do not even care about fellow lions. So when you think about human beings, just because we're a little bit more intelligent, does it mean that we have to now defy our nature or to not be realistic about our nature? Listen, I'm not rich. I'm not rich at all. I probably would never be rich, but I also don't think anyone has to give me something. I should have to get out there and fight for it. Because that's what makes character. You know, I was reading an article from Bushwick Daily the other day, and it was about the Brooklyn Book Fair, or Brooklyn Book Festival. And they were talking to these authors who, none of them were originally from Brooklyn. And they were asking, well, why did you move to Brooklyn? And all of them were talking about all the diversity. You know, oh, I came here because I'm a gay man. I can be a free gay man here. Which is like, really? You could have been a free gay man anywhere, to be honest. Like, if you put the fucking work in. And to be honest, you kind of did that at the risk of a black and brown family having their home. So congrats to you that you got to live free, but those people didn't get to. They are the victims of your living free. And I'd be more fine with that if people didn't have this fake liberalism where they claim to care about these people, but also will do everything in their power to ensure to get them out of their neighborhoods and to live in their neighborhoods. That's kind of what it is. You know, people talk about, oh, the mom and pop stores are so charming, but now they are vegan delis. Oh, this two-family house is beautiful, but now it is a glass apartment mausoleum to what used to be there, to what used to be the New York family. You can't really raise a family here. No one really wants to fucking raise a family here. You got 5 people to an apartment. What the fuck is going on? New York's over. It's an amusement park. Congrats. You did it. You took away the things you claim to care about a city, its people, and you turned it into LA, where everyone's working the kayfabe, brother. But once again, as a New Yorker, I say it, you know, to a lot of other people, is this really my New York? Was New York ever mine? Probably not. It was probably another thing I was deluding myself on, another fake thing I was believing in, that if I lived here, you know, I was from here and it mattered to me and it was my home, but it never really was my home. It was the real estate owner's home, and they now own the houses and now they make us eternal renters. There is no anything other than what you believe. Home could be anywhere. They say home is where the heart is, and to be honest with you, I don't know where my heart's ever been when it comes to my home. I know my home was always a bit traveling. We moved around a lot. So I guess my home was really just being near my mom and being near my brother. You know, when I was with them, wherever we were, that was home. But that's the thing about it. It's an institution. You realize it's not real. It's made up of flawed people and flawed concepts that do not apply to every situation. Life is a case by case basis. It's something we don't want to hear. It's something we don't want to deal with, but it is a case by case basis. Maybe Marquise Jackson didn't understand that life's a case by case basis. You grew up on second base, maybe not third base because your dad wasn't really there. Or according to him, we don't know. 50 hasn't really talked about it. But you grew up on second base. Now you're getting $7,000 a month. You make double what I make in a year for not doing jack shit, and you're bitching. Man, you know I would do fucking children. But that's the way it is now. Everyone feels like because of their past, they're entitled to something. All the boo-hoos and all the fucking tears. Hey, let me tell you something. I grew up in a time where if you couldn't get yours, if you weren't getting yours from work, you went out and got yours. I knew dudes who lost their life getting theirs. I knew dudes who would put the work in and still get nowhere. And only to have families that didn't appreciate them. Only to have like their family look at them like they're a fucking loser, even though they're working 2 jobs to keep the fucking lights on so they could have a good fucking time. Because he didn't get to enjoy any of it. You know, life is not guaranteed. Success is not guaranteed. Cost of living is not guaranteed. Life is football on concrete. It always has been since we were cavemen till now. You learn to accept that shit. You know, I never really talk about the street stuff I witnessed as a kid. I never really talk about the street people I knew, you know, but I learned everything I needed to know about life from the streets. You know, you think to yourself, oh, but it has to be a better way. There is no better way. There isn't. Because if you make it too easy, then no one fucking wants to work. No one wants to fucking give more. You don't get innovation, really. You know, if everyone's an artist, who's working the railways? Who's driving the buses? Not everyone can be one. And we treat trade jobs and we treat everyday people jobs as if they're somehow beneath us when they are the core of our society. I have more respect for the average electrician than I do for any celebrity, because that dude can do something that none of them can, and they need him because they would never be able to do it themselves, except for if you're Jeremy Renner. Jeremy Renner spends a lot of his time not making movies, but flipping houses. So I respect to him, and he actually gets in on the ground floor and doing things. That's what I respect about Jeremy Renner. But the institutions have always been a bit fake. They all are. Another institution that's kind of fake, marriage. You know, I was talking to a guy, he's engaged to my friend, and, you know, they just recently put their pictures up, I think about 2 weeks ago. And I was talking to him about it. I told him, hey, I know you don't know me very well. We only met twice, but congratulations, dude. That's kind of cool. And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's cool. And he kind of sounded a little like sad about it. And I was like, so I didn't try to poke and prod. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, all right, maybe there's a situation going on. Like, maybe this had to happen for a reason. But I was talking to him about it. I was like, hey, man, are you like enjoying the process? Like, what's going on? And he's like, she made me like do this like engagement photo shoot. And I just felt like it was just too much. And I was like, no, I agree with you. It is too much. It's stupid. It's utterly dumb to do an engagement photo shoot. You know, and then he's like, yeah, and he's like, then her parents are like putting together this, you know, engagement party at this, you know, restaurant. And I was like, why? I told him, like, what are we celebrating? I told him, you just asked the question. That's it. You know, far too often we celebrate the beginning of things. We don't really see, to me, an engagement is not something to celebrate, really. It's more like, hey, good job. You guys are considering doing something. I have watched engagements fall apart before the wedding even got there. So when you talk to me about engagement, I'm kind of like, oh, that's cool. That's nice. Like, you did that. That's cute. Let me know when the wedding is. You know, men are conditioned to put down $5,000, $6,000 on a ring that's not even the most important ring in the whole goddamn ceremony. So if anything, you put a down payment on a wedding you're not even sure is going to happen. So from jump, men are already investing in a hole. We're operating in negative dollars because we have spent $6,000 on something that just might not happen. And considering statistics of marriage and divorce rates, it might be the worst $6,000 of his entire life. On top of probably the worst $40,000 to $50,000 of his entire life for a wedding that no one's going to remember. But of course, the wedding's not about men, apparently. It's about the lady, and I think that's horseshit. I think if I put down a substantial amount of money for a ring that's not even the most important ring, some of that's going to be about me. Just a tad. But see, once again, they'll fight the patriarchy until it's shit they want to keep, because that's a very patriarchal horseshit maneuver. Why is the wedding just about her? That doesn't seem really feminist to me. But what can you do? It's not really equal, you know? Should a man not have equal say in his own wedding? And we've been conditioned as men to not even care about the wedding because it's about her. And I'm starting a revolution on that now. Men, the wedding is about you too. Start getting yours. Start asking for shit. Start telling her who can't come to the wedding. You're going to piss her off later on anyway. Start now. Yeah, that person's kind of a bitch. I don't want her at my wedding. Nah, we're good. She don't gotta be there. You want to have this wedding or not? Damn right. Because should you not be happy? Should the man not be happy on his own wedding day? All that money spent on videos and photos you don't even look at. You look at them every 10 years. I know people who spent about, what, 40K on a wedding and all they got was a divorce. A wedding dress in a box. Congrats. That's why I fuck with the recommitment ceremony as old people do. Because that's real shit. That you're really celebrating 20 years of history right there. 20 years of a commitment. Celebrating the start. See, that's kind of the problem with us as well. We always want to celebrate the start. We never want to celebrate the long-term commitment. We never want to celebrate consistency because consistency is boring. It's not interesting. It's always the fresh start. Ooh, the beginning of our life together. Yeah, the beginning of your life together really is after you're married and you're on that Saturday night where there's nothing going on and you're both sitting on your couch, you're both on your phone, and you're fucking bored. That's when marriage begins. Because you start realizing, can I be bored with this person? Will this person shut the fuck up so I can enjoy daydreaming? That, my friend, is where marriage really starts. Start getting bored with your partner now. Find out if they can shut the fuck up for 30 minutes and let you have a daydream. If they can't, I don't know what to tell you. Don't tell you. But we often celebrate these things that don't matter. To me, listen, weddings, I used to be a huge wedding guy, oddly enough. Like, I was like so into it. And I always said I would have a big one. But then I realized, yeah, no, because the truth of the fact is, most people don't fucking remember them. They don't remember them until you get divorced. No one really remembers. When people go, oh yeah, I went to that wedding, it was good. But no one has any details about it. They just know it was good. It seemed fun. I had fun. Did the couple have fun? Probably not. They were running around having to do shit. I'm determined to have fun at my wedding. Determined. I'm going to enjoy my fucking day when it happens. I'll tell you that fucking much. I am not interested in shit I'm not interested in. I'm just not doing it. Can we get a picture? Hey, we'll get it, bruh. I'm in the middle of having some fun. We'll get to it. How about you go take pictures of some other shit? I'm having a good time with the boys. We're celebrating that I did it. I'm hanging out with my in-laws getting drunk. We'll get the pictures. And that's the thing about it. Like, you put all that money on the engagement ring, but not the equal amount of money on the wedding ring. That's the more important ring. If anything, I think the engagement ring should look like shit. It should be a terrible ring. So you can test that person how much they love you based on will they show that ring to people. Get them the shittiest ring imaginable and see if she shows it to people. And if she does, that means she loves you. That's my theory. If you get her a really nice ring, of course she's gonna fucking marry you. It's a really nice ring. Women do not like getting accessories and outfits they do not wear. They have to wear it. Even if midway through the engagement she realizes she doesn't want to be married to you, she will marry you just so she can have the ring dress combo and then get divorced to you later. That's how women treat fashion, at least from my personal experience. But that's what you should do. Test her. Get her like a real shit ass ring. The smallest diamond imaginable. Something that's not even considered a fucking diamond, how small it is. It's a pebble. It's just nothing. A nub. And see if she shows that shit off. And if she shows it off, that's a real one. That's a real one. My opinion. Could be wrong. There are probably married couples listening to this podcast now going, you fucking serious? Yes, I am. Highly serious. Kinda. But give it a shot. See what happens. But I never understood any of it. To me, I don't want to do an engagement photo shoot. Like, I feel like that's all this like shit, like the engagement photo shoots, the engagement dinners, bachelorettes, bachelor parties, fucking all of it. It just feels like vanity. And I don't know, like if you're getting married in a church, didn't God hate vanity? It is the devil's favorite sin, according to Al Pacino. So it just feels wrong. It feels like it's not about what it's supposed to be about. But it's because we have taken that institution and flipped it, or taken that event and flipped it into what will people say about our wedding years from now, as opposed to did we enjoy ourselves? And I refuse to live like that. I won't. I realized that recently. I will not live like that. When my time comes, it's going to be about me and the person I'm marrying, my girlfriend. It will be about us. Fuck everyone else. Everyone else be damned. They don't gotta show up. And if they didn't like it, keep it to your fucking self. That's how I feel it. The institution has been torn apart. It's been torn apart. It's no longer fun. I never met a guy that ever told me he had fun at his wedding. And that's sad. Because, you know, at the end of the day, he bought the most expensive part. And then it's expected, because let's keep it a buck, if a man's not a provider these days, he's seen as less of a man still. I don't care how 21st century we are now, he is still seen as less of a man. And he still has to work his ass to the bone to be the main provider, because if he's not, women will have something to say about it. He has to bust his ass to be the rock of a household, but the wedding wasn't about him. Then what is about him? What part ever gets to be about him? The kid's not even about him, really. They take that from men too. Father's Day is about him. And Father's Day sucks because fathers don't get good gifts. Because truthfully, fathers don't really want anything. Men can literally close their eyes and imagine things. Like have a daydream. Think about a sports game they once watched and be happy. Because we're such simple people. We just want to be happy, and we find happiness internally. We have to, because see, the thing about all this is people will remember that, okay, men run the world, but no one ever remembers the John Hughes movies where there is a jock and then there's Ducky, and Ducky got his ass beat all the time. So Ducky had to find some inner peace real fucking quick, because the majority of the men were not the jocks. Let's put that out there. But do men get anything? Probably not. We don't. We do get doors slammed on each other when people are angry. You know, I think the reason why I don't like the hype around engagements is because I look at houses and I go, you know, the foundation of a house is not pretty. It's just the bare bones of what you need. And it's the house that matters. But we so often don't think about the foundation because we don't see it. And I think that kind of should be the engagement. The ring shouldn't matter. The fact that he acts shouldn't matter. Was the marriage successful? Will it be successful? How long do you think it'll last? Will it last? I think weddings shouldn't be that expensive. I think they shouldn't be that big either. It's not a special day really for the couple. It's not. It's for everyone else. And that's what makes it sad. You know, I would love to meet one husband that could tell me he enjoyed his wedding day. And in the many I've met, not a single one has told me they got to enjoy it. It was just stress. Not good, man. Not good. Maybe Marquise Jackson will have a better wedding since he gets $7,000 a month. So it won't be hard to raise money for a good one. If some bitch decides, well, let me not say some bitch. If some woman decides he's worth it, which I don't see the value in him at all. That's one sad ass fuck. But in the end, that's what it's all about. Perception. How you view things. What is reality for you? Are you allowing outside forces dictate your reality? Are you still mourning things you shouldn't be mourning anymore? Are you allowing people to dictate your happiness and how you do things that make you happy? Are you allowing society to tell you who you are? Are you allowing the fact that your parents weren't strong enough or they're few enough to dictate your present and future? It's all not real anyway. It's all fake. It's all made up. Society is just a bunch of people making it up as they go along. Once you accept that, you start to get a bit more forgiving. I know I have. You know, me and my dad, you know, we reconciled about 16 years ago. Probably a little bit more than that. And I stopped judging him as who I wanted him to be. And I accepted him as who he was. And from there, I decided what my relationship would be with him based on what that was, based on the reality of it and my perception of it. And once I freed him from the bonds of my own expectations, he was able to surprise me. He was able to give me the love he was capable of. And that's what Marquise Jackson needs to do. You gotta let the man go. Because if you don't, you'll never get him back. You gotta stop letting people tell you how you should be doing things, because then you won't enjoy what you're doing. Weddings be damned. Be damned. Have a small one. Hang out with your friends. Only have the close people, because guess what? They're the only ones that are going to be there for you. And truthfully speaking, the wedding should be about you guys. But guess what? You know, because guess what? Because in the darkness of it all, it's just you two. No one else. Nobody else. Not the 13th cousin you invited who shitted all over the wedding's menu. They're not going to be there. They're not even appreciating they were at the fucking wedding. So don't spend your money on engagement shoots like a loser. Don't have engagement parties. Bachelorettes and bachelor parties be fucking damned. Get rid of those too. Just get fucking married. Do not burden us with your fucking wedding. Just fucking get married. That's it. Now, I didn't tell that guy that I spoke to. I wish I did. But to be honest, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Because the day's not about him, according to him. Damn shame. If you are a married couple out there who just heard this rant, may I suggest you have a recommitment ceremony, because that's pretty great. And if you are still married and happily married over the course of a few years, you deserve that, because that's the real test. And you passed it. You have a functioning, working marriage. And you deserve the applause because you put the work in. Not like these young fucks who are celebrating the bare minimum and celebrating just getting started. Because more often than not, when you throw big parties, have photo shoots, I don't know why I'm fucking JFK now, but when you do all that shit in the beginning, more often than not, you end up like that drill, cutting apart wood. I don't know. I tried to work the construction noise in. Terrible move. But in the end, you know, you don't know for sure. You don't know for sure if you'll make it to the aisle. You don't know for sure if you'll have a successful marriage. So spare yourself the embarrassment and just keep it low key. Keep it low key and do what matters for you and the person you're in love with. And if you're dealing with past trauma, know that there is no one there to save you. There isn't. Your family can only do but so much. Your friends can only do but so much. You have to save you. It has to be you. Because in the end, that's who you're fighting. You know, Cornel West talks about it. Cornel West says, you have to fight the gangster inside you before he gets you. And the gangster inside you could be many things. It could be, you know, insecurity. It can be sadness. It could be depression. It could be anxiety. It could be, you know, you weren't loved enough or paid attention to enough, or no one ever believed in you. You got to snuff that gangster out. Because if you don't, the gangster rules. And he'll tell you what to do for the rest of your life. Until you snuff them. Back-to-back contemplative episodes. I hope we still have listeners after this week. We don't talk about numbers here often, but we have been since episode 49 in the triple digits. And here's the thing. Commitment. You know, we keep putting these out and people keep listening. So thank you. I'm highly appreciative of those who do. And catch it on the flip, bro. I don't know. I'm appreciative because this is my outlet for a lot of my deep thoughts. Some would say go to therapy, maybe. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But then again, I think we all know how this one is going to end. Do you hear the construction noises? I hope you do, because I hear them, and they're driving me